Welcome to Live Interactive English. Hello everyone, I'm Karen.
And I'm Mike, and here we are with day 2 of our look at the Swiss Guard, the Pope's Army, one of the smallest army in the world, one of the oldest armies in the world, but for my money, one of the best dressed armies in the world.
I mean, have to agree with you.
Those uniforms are very, very special. Although I have to tell you, Karen, I'm a little depressed today because...
Why are you depressed?
Well, you know, I was reading about this and their history is very interesting and the things they do, and I love that uniform. So I looked it up. I want to see if maybe I could join the Swiss Guard.
Okay.
I can't.
Why not?
Well, you gotta be Swiss.
Oh.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'd have to marry a Swiss person, I guess. I don't even know if that would work. You have to be Catholic. I'm not, so that's no good. I'm tall enough.
Okay.
You have to be over 1.74 meters.
Okay, 1.7.
So I'm okay there.
Okay.
And you have to be a high school or a university graduate. So past high school or university, so I'm okay there. And the other thing is the age.
How old do you have to be?
I'd like to lie and tell you I'm too young. But no, in fact, I'm a bit too old.
Really? So what's the age range?
It's like 19 to 30. So I'm just a year or two over.
But I can understand.
So close.
I can kind of understand why there is an age range, right?
Well, I think that's pretty normal for soldiers. Where you don't want old men running around pretending to be soldiers. And I guess if they didn't only have Swiss people, they couldn't really be called the Swiss Guard.
Exactly.
And I suppose that being a Catholic, well, you're protecting the head of the Catholic Church. So you probably have to know about the religion. So
that would make sense. Don't worry. I guess you can't really join the Swiss Guard.
No, but I could buy one of the uniforms.
That would be great.
I could walk around my own house looking like that. That would be weird. And my wife would hate it.
I think you would look great in the uniform.
Anyways, maybe we can just read the article and I can live through that. So let's check out more about the Swiss Guard, the Pope's Army, and some of the things they do today in the modern world.
Today, the Swiss Guard primarily protects the Pope during his time in the Vatican or when he travels abroad. It also defends the College of Cardinals during the election of a new Pope, which occurs after the previous Pope's death. The Swiss Guard has a long history of loyalty, even in the face of death. On May 6, 1527, during the sack of Rome by the Holy Roman Empire, 147 guards died while helping Pope Clement VII escape. Thanks to their sacrifice, the Pope survived, but only 42 guards were found alive afterward.
All right, so yes, here we are with day 2 about the Swiss Guards. We've learned about their history, we've learned about their uniforms and some of the things that they traditionally did, why they were hired by a pope all those hundreds of years ago. But what about now? I'm sure there's much more to the Swiss Guards than just standing around in front of a church or a museum in the Vatican, looking cool with their nice uniforms for tourists to take pictures of. They're still an army. They're still there to protect the Pope. So what exactly are they doing in the modern world?
Okay, well, let me tell you. Today, the Swiss Guard primarily protects the Pope during his time in the Vatican or when he travels abroad. Okay, so they still protect the Pope whenever he travels or he's in the Vatican. So today, that's what they do.
And there's other things that they do there in the Vatican. The Swiss Guard, also defends the College of Cardinals during the election of a new pope, which occurs after the previous pope's death. So protecting those elections, keeping them honest, keeping them safe and secure was a very important job, because an election is when we choose a leader of a country often or another place. Normally, when we think of elections for the president or the legislators, the people who work in the LIVEABC, sort of making laws and doing the business of the country. But we also elect mayors, the leader of your city, or even in a school. You might elect a class president or a school president, a school leader of some kind. But elections are all basically the same. You get to choose between a few people. You put down a mark on a secret paper. You put that in a box box, they count them all at the end, and the person with the most votes, who gets the most of those marks, they win the election, and they'll be the leader for a period of time. For example, the election in November is for choosing a new president. Of course, all US president elections are in November.
And we're also looking at this word here, previous, and that is an adjective. Previous means coming before something else in time or order. It's like saying what happened before or earlier. So the previous pope, that means the pope before, that was there before. So an example sentence would be, the previous building was considered too dangerous for use. And maybe that's why it was demolished or it was knocked down, so they built a new one, right?
There you go.
Okay, how about let's go to Hanny right now and we will be right back.
Sounds good.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny， 今天要继续来介绍瑞士卫队。现今瑞士卫队主要是当教宗位于梵蒂冈城，或者是出访时来为他提供保护。那在前任教宗逝世后举行的新任教宗选举期间，卫队也会保护枢机团。文中用到 College of Cardinals 表示枢机团，也就是天主教会中所有枢机主教的统称。而单字 election 它表示选举。Mike 老师在解释单字时有提到 legislator 这个名词，它表示立法者、立法委员或是国会议员。下一个单字 previous， 它是形容词，形容之前的、先前的。那单字例句提到说，之前那栋大楼被认为太危险，不适合使用。这时候 Karen 老师就有用到一个片语叫 knock down， 它可以表达拆除、拆掉，像拆掉这个建筑物等等。老师还用到 demolish 这个动词。demolish， 它可以表达毁坏啊，或者是破坏的意思。那我们接回到课文中。
All right, so we are back. So we've learned about the Swiss Guard, and you might think, yeah, what do? It says the Swiss Guard has a long history of loyalty, even in the face of death.
Wow.
So they will protect that Pope. That is the most important job they have on earth. And if they have to die to keep the Pope safe,
they will.
That is something they are willing to do, and they have actually done before. It says on May 6th, 1527, during the sack of Rome by the Holy Roman Emperor, 147 guards died while helping Pope Clement VII escape. So I guess the Holy Roman Emperor's army was trying to take over Rome, take over the Vatican and the church, and these guards, they helped to fight off probably many, many more soldiers to give their leader, the Pope at that time, chance to get out of there safely without being caught or killed by the enemy. They laid down their lives to save the Pope's life. And escape, yes, this verb means to get away from somewhere, I should say, or someone, a situation where there's danger. There could be danger here, you could be hurt, you could be killed, something bad could happen to you, so you try to find a way out. For example, only a few people successfully escaped the sinking ship. I guess the people who didn't escape died.
That's right. Okay, so we learned that the Swiss Guard is actually very loyal, right?
Very loyal.
And they take their jobs very, very seriously.
Very.
Okay, well, let's learn more about them. Thanks to their sacrifice, the Pope survived, but only 42 guards were found alive afterward. Wow. Remember how we talked about over 100 of them were killed, right?
Yes.
And then because they wanted to protect the Pope. So only 40-something of them survived the incident. Okay, we're talking about this word here, afterward, and that is an adverb. Afterward means later in time or after something that has already been mentioned. It's an adverb that indicates a sequence of events, okay? So for example, you can say, we had a long meeting and talked more afterward. So after the meeting, we still talked some more, right?
Exactly right. And after what I'm telling you right now, we'll be going to see Hanny. And then afterward, we'll be back.
瑞士卫队拥有悠久的忠诚历史，即使在面对死亡时也毫不退缩。在1527年，当神圣罗马帝国皇帝导致了罗马之劫那时候啊，147名的卫兵为了协助教宗克莱孟七世逃脱而阵亡了。那幸亏有他们的牺牲，教宗得以幸存。可是事后呢，只有42名卫兵生还。好 ，Mike 老师刚刚有用到 combat 这个字 ，C-O-M-B-A-T，combat combat 当名词可以表达战斗搏斗。老师还用到 lay down one's life for something， 这是表达为什么而献身，为什么而贡献出自己的生命。再看到单字 escape 当动词可以表达逃脱逃离。Afterward 这个副词表示之后后来，也可以把它拼作 afterwards， 就是在后面加上一个 s。好，那么 Karen 老师这时候有提到 sequence 这个字 sequence， 那这个名词它表示顺序、次序或者是一连串。再来这边还有2个重点，第一个是 in the face of something， 是表达面对面临什么什么。in the face of 之后常常会接困难、危险等等不好的事情。举例来说 It's not easy to stay calm in the face of difficulties。 面对困境时保持冷静并不容易。好，那么第2个重点是 while， 它可以表达在什么什么之时，在什么什么的时候。它所引导的副词子句跟主要子句的主词相同时，我们可以省略掉副词子句的主词，然后把它后面的动词改为现在分词，那就会形成了主词加动词 while 动词 ing 的句型。例如 Some people listen to music while they study，可以简化成 Some people listen to music while studying。 有些人在念书时听音乐。好，那这句话课文中。
And now we are back. So we learned, some interesting things about the Swiss Army and how, even with their colorful, bright uniforms, they take their jobs very seriously and they're all highly trained, right?
Exactly right. In fact, they have even fought and died to save the Pope's life. That's pretty amazing. All right, let's go to the second part of the article. Then we will be back with you to talk about it in just a moment.
In the years that followed, during peaceful times, the Swiss Guard took on a more ceremonial role. However, that changed in 1981 after an assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. Since then, the Guards have focused more on training to prevent and respond to threats. In addition to their responsibilities, the Guards remain an important symbol of Vatican City. You can see them when you visit, or you might spot them when they join the Pope as he journeys around the world.
All right, so we're just learning that the Swiss Guard has actually done some real fighting. It was 500 years ago in the past, but they laid down their life to save the Pope at that time. So it's not just about guarding the palaces and churches and museums in the Vatican, but how have things changed since then?
Okay, well, let's learn about it. In the years that followed during peaceful times, the Swiss Guard took on a more ceremonial role. Oh, so maybe they're in the ceremonies, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like those beautifully dressed guards we see in London, protecting the king and the palace or the Tower of London. A ceremonial role. This would also be like the guards we see here at the Shanghai Shek Memorial.
That's right.
And they stand there and they look perfect and they don't move, but you don't really see them running around and fighting wars dressed like that. So it's a role for ceremonies or for big official events. That's kind of what it was for a long time, because there were no big wars to protect the Pope in. However, that changed in 1981 after an assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. This was a big shocking moment. Of course, world leaders, presidents, have had people try to kill them for a long time. Kings or presidents or people like that. But the Pope, the head of the church, well, yes, he got shot actually in 1981. Luckily, he lived. But that was a big shock for people to realize that even the Pope in the Vatican in Rome can be in danger. So since then, since that very shocking event, it says since then the guards have focused more on training to prevent and respond to threats. They've had to become more modern for some of the dangers that the Pope faces in the world today. When we respond to something, well, the simplest way is to answer. If someone asks you a question and you give them an answer, you respond. Or if someone calls you or talks to you and you talk back to them, you respond. But we can also use it in a way without words, without speaking. It's just what you do after something happens, okay? So if it suddenly gets very cold in the room, you might respond by going to get a jacket or something like that. If someone throws something at you, you might respond by putting your hands up to catch it or to protect your face or something like that. So it's the B that happens after A. For example, Hannah didn't know how to respond to the question. She didn't know how to act or to answer after hearing the question. All right, let's go over to Hanny, and then we'll come back to learn more about some of the modern roles of the ancient Swiss guards.
在罗马之劫过后的和平年代期间，瑞士卫队的角色变得更具仪式性。然而，这个情况在1981年教宗若望保禄2世遭到暗杀未遂时，又发生了改变。从那时候开始，卫队的训练更加着重于预防和应对威胁。好，来看单字 respond 这个动词，它表示回应、做出反应或者是回复。ceremonial 则是形容仪式的、礼节的。好，那这边有一个重点是 take on 的不同意思。首先 take on 可以表达接下、承担，可能是接下某个角色、工作或是任务等等。例如 try not to take on more responsibility than you can handle， 尽量不要承担超出你能力范围的责任。好，那么第二个 take on 可以表达与什么竞争较量，例如 Ron wasn't afraid to take on the big guy。 Ron 他不怕跟那个块头大的人来较量。那第三个 take on 可以表达开始呈现、像是具有新的面貌或特质，例如 Dylan took on a new hairstyle by dyeing his hair blonde。 Dylan 把头发染成金色，换了新发型。好，那我们接着回到课文中。
And now we are back, and let's continue with our article. So in addition to their responsibilities, the guards remain an important symbol of Vatican City. And that is definitely true, you know, with their very important job, they're highly trained, and they have to protect the Pope. That's a responsibility. So what's a responsibility? That's a noun. It means a job or duty that someone is expected to do. And this is a very serious job, a very serious responsibility for the Swiss Guard. It is something you need to take care of or something you are in charge of. So an example sentence would be, looking after a pet is a big responsibility. You cannot kind of just leave it at home. You have to play with it, you have to love your pet, and you have to make sure that it's well taken care of, right?
There's a lot to do, and people are relying on you. They're trusting you. You have to do this or other people will be let down, disappointed, or hurt. It says you can see them when you visit, or you might spot them when they join the Pope as he journeys around the world. The most obvious place we see them is at the Vatican City in their beautiful uniforms, standing outside doors and gates, protecting things. But they also travel with the Pope, and I think when they do that, they dress in more modern clothes because they're really there to protect the Pope from any danger. And since he's an important guy, there will be danger.
That's right.
Let's go over to Hanny.
课文最后提到，除了他们的职责之外，瑞士卫队仍然是梵蒂冈的重要象征。同学们有机会去造访的时候，可以看见他们，或者是当他们跟随教宗出访世界各地时，也有可能会看到他们的身影。那来看单字 responsibility 这个名词就表示责任、职责。好，那我们接回到课文中。
And now we have a what do you think question. So let me ask you, Mike, do you think the Swiss Guard is still important in modern times?
Well, yeah, of course. Yes, the Swiss Guard is important because it's a dangerous world that we live in. There's all sorts of people out there, crazy or otherwise, who might try to hurt the Pope because he's such a world-famous person. So clearly he needs protection. Clearly he needs security. It would be weird, since the Vatican is its own country, it would be weird to ask the Italian government or the Rome police to do it. So I can see they have that special position. But simply because the Pope is a very famous person,
that's right,
and people could want to hurt him, he needs protection. And I think the Swiss Guard, with their long history, that tradition, that feeling of responsibility, they probably do it better than anyone else could.
That's right. So I think it's still very important for us to have the Swiss Guard, right?
I absolutely agree.
To protect the Pope. Okay, well, let's review our article again, and we'll see you guys next time.
Take care.
Today, the Swiss Guard primarily protects the Pope during his time in the Vatican or when he travels abroad. It also defends the College of Cardinals during the election of a new Pope, which occurs after the previous Pope's death. The Swiss Guard has a long history of loyalty, even in the face of death. On May 6, 1527, during the sack of Rome by the Holy Roman Empire, 147 guards died while helping Pope Clement VII escape. Thanks to their sacrifice, the Pope survived, but only 42 guards were found alive afterward. In the years that followed, during peaceful times, the Swiss Guard took on a more ceremonial role. However, that changed in 1981 after an assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. Since then, the guards have focused more on training to prevent and respond to threats. In addition to their responsibilities, the guards remain an important symbol of Vatican City. You can see them when you visit, or you might spot them when they join the Pope as he journeys around the world.
最后，我们来复习今天课文里的单字文法。单字的部分有 election 名词表示选举 ，previous 形容词形容之前的、先前的 ，escape 动词表示逃脱、逃离。Afterward 这个副词表示之后、后来，也可以在后面加上 s 拼作 afterwards。Respond 是动词，它表示回应、做出反应或是回复。那么 responsibility 这个名词则表示责任、职责。文法的部分，我们第一个学到 in the face of something 可以表达面对、面临什么什么。那 in the face of 之后常接困难、危险等等不好的事情。第二个，我们学到 while 表示在什么什么的时候，它引导的副词子句跟主要子句的主词相同时，可以省略掉副词子句的主词，把后面的动词改为现在分词，那就会形成了主词加动词 while VING 的句型。下一个我们学到 take on 的不同意思，它可以表达接下、承担，像是接下某个角色、工作或任务，也可以表达与什么竞争较量，还可以表达开始呈现具有，像是具有某个新面貌或者是特质。好，那么以上今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Banqiao District has one of the highest population densities in Taiwan,
with over 24,000 people per square kilometer.
With so many people living there, it's only natural for there to be a big station in order to accommodate the amount of people there. Let's check out Banqiao Station. Banqiao Station is a 3-rail train station in Banqiao in New Taipei City. There are platforms for the high-speed rail, local train, and MRT. People can easily change from one system to another. The building is 25 stories tall above ground and 5 stories deep below ground. It is now the second tallest station building in Taiwan. You can ask for information and buy tickets on the first floor. Besides taking trains, there are many other things to do. The Global Mall has lots of shopping and food choices from B1 to the second floor. The mall has many fashion, sports, book, and gift stores. The high-speed rail is also known as the HSR
And can reach speeds of up to 300 kilometers
per hour. Impressive, right? It is only just one of the different modes of transportation you can find at Banqiao Station. Whether you're just trying to get to your next destination or want to do some shopping, Banqiao Station is an ideal place to visit.